feel ready?
Not really. Not really, but go ahead. Okay.
All right. Hey, Scott.
Hey, what's up, Jordan? How's it going?
Going pretty good, man. So, me and you have known each other for 8 years now. Like, since about 2009, really.
So that's 10 years.
Yeah,
just to let you help you with your math.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so you were my rugby coach when I first met you.
Yeah, that's right. Rugby.
Yeah.
It's a good social, growing, place to be. Meet a lot of great people.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that I really appreciated about rugby was like there's so much camaraderie of like I felt like if I met someone in Texas who I didn't get along with, but we found out that we were both rugby players, we'd be like, all right, we're cool, man.
Yeah, you're like, all right, I'll let that slide. You're good. Yeah, it's I would say the majority of my friends are rugby related.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to be involved with it in a lot of ways, but it also is a, commitment in a sense. When I was coaching, it was pretty much full on. That was what I was doing.
Yeah, I haven't played in a while. I mean, my last season, I broke my hand in the 15 minutes into the warm-up game of the season. And being a drummer, it just
didn't work.
Put the fear in me finally, where I was like, oh, wow. Like, I'd rather drum.
Right. And the same thing with me is, but I did play this summer up in Vail, and I didn't walk straight for a week. But I don't want people to be scared about rugby. Don't not play rugby because it's not that. We're just, we've played a lot. So, you get fit for it and get into it. That was just a one-off game, and I hadn't played for 3 years or so maybe.
Yeah.
But it's just too good of a sport not to be involved with it when you're in the position to do it and such, and so much camaraderie. So it's great.
Yeah. I mean, even just doing that run with you like a month or two ago, I was like,
just playing some touch.
Man, I miss this.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it also said it's commitment, and then it can. I wanted, like you wanted to do your drumming, I wanted to do some traveling and some hiking and other type of adventures out there.
Yeah.
Just mix it up a little bit because done rugby for a long, long time.
Yeah, and that's part of what you're into now.
Yep.
Also with the company that you're starting, which is on your shirt, Boldly Explore.
Yeah.
Which is super awesome.
Right.
I find it super inspiring because I grew a lot from my own travels, and you were one of the people who actually inspired my traveling on a rugby trip.
Yeah, New Zealand.
Yeah,
that was
2011
awesome.
For the World Rugby Cup.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a time.
Yeah, it was good stuff. That was good. That was great. So that was inspiring for you to get you. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. That's what I want to, help people, inspire people, motivate people, give them a process.
Yeah, to go on their own adventures.
To what they've dreamed of, what they've always wanted to do, but they keep putting it off. I'll do that next year, or I can't do that because I'm out of shape, or I can really do that. I can do this dream adventure that I've thought about. Yeah, you can do it. It's just we need to get you to believe that. Get the junk out of your head. And put a plan in place and slowly start stepping towards it.
Yeah, which I think is awesome to give people a platform for it, and also like a little bit. I mean, you've done a lot of traveling, which is awesome, and it's cool to be able to have someone who has had the experiences that you've had to kind of lean on and to get information from and to get consultation from, because it is, the first step is the hardest because it's a blank sheet. You have no idea where to start. So I think it's awesome what you're doing to like give people the opportunity to like have someone that can actually motivate and help them to take steps forward in whatever they want to do. I like how like pushing people to do like the PCT or the AT, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Appalachian Trail. Like there's I feel like that's becoming a bigger thing for people that actually get out to go to have their own adventures, because especially the new generation, I think, is kind of pushing that, and the older generation is realizing or feeling like they missed the boat. And I like that you're here to be like, no, no, no.
No.
You just have to choose your boat. You
Right.
still have time to get on it.
Yeah, and mentioning those trails, for example, it doesn't, as much traveling as I've done, as much some crazy adventures I've done, it pales into comparison to others. There's still a lot of adventures I want to do and things I'd like to do. You're not going to get to them all.
Yeah.
And every time you think you've done something that is amazing, you find somebody's like done it 3 times bigger, and you're just like, what? So my point is, though, is that person that may be listening now says, well, I don't want to do the PCT. That's 2,500 miles. Well, then, okay, so you want to do 20 miles. You want to do a 3-week backpacking trip. You want to do a week. You want to do a day up a mountain. Whatever that may be is your adventure. It's just like, how do we get you to do that?
Yeah.
And not comparing yourself to others, or not being afraid or fearful or doubting because I could never do that. Well, maybe that's not your gig.
Yeah.
So it's just not really, I guess, comparing. Don't compare, do your thing. And that's what I want to do, is be that conduit, that spark, that inspiration, that person to help you get that accomplished that you've maybe been dreaming about for 6 months to 6 years to 30 years.
Yeah.
And it can still be done.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen and get you there. So
Yeah, I think that's because there's so many people that live in Denver with like so many beautiful mountains literally within arm's reach, and they never get out there. And I find so much like comfort in the mountains to like get out in nature, to reset, to like get away from the high energy of the city and just ground into the mountains, and be in nature and breathe the air and smell the smells and just be able to see it. Like that's one of the most rewarding parts about hiking for me, and I know most hikers, is like you earn the view.
Right.
And like you get it's hard, and it's like, oh my, like I just met a girl the other day who was like, oh, I learned that an easy hike to a Coloradian is not an easy hike.
Right.
But it's like when you get to that peak, when you get to that summit, and you get to just turn and take in so much of the planet, like it's a different view of the world. Like when you're in the city, it's crushing, everything's on top of you. You can see maybe 100 feet if you're going down a straight street. But when you get up on top of the mountain, suddenly your whole world opens up and you can see for miles and miles. And so many people don't get that.
They don't either take the time to do it. They find excuses. They don't realize they can do it. They don't realize the actual amazing change in their lives from that accomplishment. Yet I want to be clear that it's not just about hiking. It can be, I've ridden a motorcycle, $175 motorcycle, 97cc, around Vietnam for a month on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and pull over and flying down the road and pull over and, buy some food from a lady that I could have no conversation with other than just human interactions, like point to my mouth, I'm hungry, look at what she's got, pull out my money. There's adventures that are that. I've ridden a bicycle across the United States, sometimes on roads with a bunch of other cars, which has been great.
Yeah.
But, so maybe it's a bicycle adventure. I've ridden a motorcycle around South America for 4 months, Peru, Ecuador. And it's not about me. What I'm trying to say is that what's your adventure? What's that dream or dreams of adventures? And let's make that happen. It could be in nature. It might not be in nature. I think I'm with you. Nature is the best adventures that I've had.
Yeah.
Yet I've had some amazing things happen, like I said, on motorcycles or bicycles in different places. So there's a lot of different ways to have an adventure. In what is yours, and how do we make that come true? Working together and get a plan and get the fear gone and work through the steps. And as you're listening right now, I know people are like, "Oh yeah, but this, oh but that." There's always excuses.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying some of them are not legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Yet let's at least evaluate them and see if there's a way to. Maybe you want to do the entire Appalachian Trail. Maybe the reality is you can't. Maybe it's just not at this point you can do it the whole thing. But let's go get you on there for 2 weeks, or let's get you on there for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can do a month a year. I don't know. I'm just coming up with examples. There may be a poor example for some people. There may be a great example for the other. So
yeah, well, I think that's important because, like, giving examples, which is cool about how much that you've done, is that their adventure looks so many different ways, so many different lengths of time, so many different ways you could go about it. Because it's like us going to New Zealand inspired me that I could leave the country. I'm like, oh man, I don't have to go, to Florida to get to an ocean. I can go to the other side of the world and get on a beach. And it led to me
and be safe. Yeah, I mean, there's so much in the news and the media here that just is such. Of course, there's unsafe, but 95% of the people or more in the world are doing no different than we are, and that is trying to be good people and live their life and feed their family and feed themselves and help others. Sure, there's places that are much more dangerous that you shouldn't go.
Yeah.
Yet, majority by far, even places that you're told are dangerous by the media here in the United States, is not completely accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found that traveling through Europe, of just like finding so much kindness everywhere I went. And I think it's as with any part of life, like you have to have your senses up, and usually you can read situations and people if you have any sort of wits about you.
Right.
And the thing is exactly what you're saying. Like there's most people don't want problems because problems suck. Like getting into physical altercations are always dangerous because you might get hurt. So like the thing about traveling and the kind of the fear mongering around like going out and meeting your fellow man and seeing the world, I think is such a farce that like keeps people in their cage, in their little tiny circle.
It works well for the machine.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go like I'm some conspiracy theorist. Yet after traveling to 30 countries and counting, and being in places that no gringo would probably really need to be, but realizing it doesn't matter, that you start realizing, wow, if everybody stays in their cubicle and everybody stays in their machine and their house payments and their car payments and their producing kid payments and their college payments, it makes a lot of money for a lot of people. And so, you start like, is that really what Earth was created for? People to just have all this debt and these bigger house that makes, I don't know, I can go down another path here, with all that, but it's just like when you start getting away from it and looking at it from outside. But talking about the dangerous part, yeah, there's definitely danger. But I tell you what, there are cities in the United States and there are areas of cities in the United States that I would in no way, shape, or form want to be in.
Yeah.
Versus countries that if I mentioned, people would be like, well, that country's dangerous. Are you kidding me? Versus some areas in our country is the most dangerous country in the world in so many places. Look at the statistics.
Yeah.
Of course, in the top 20 most dangerous cities in the world, there's just a couple United States cities.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like when people, I'm not going to, I don't want to start saying countries because then all of a sudden people, but I go to a certain country. Well, if that city in that country is known as a very dangerous city, I don't even like to go to cities anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be there. Just like if I went to a city in the United States that's known as a dangerous area, there's dangerous areas, I'm not going to go to that dangerous area. I'm going to be out in the rural area or this and that. So painting a brush that's in certain places and there's danger everywhere, and how do you do that and such, I think you're missing out on a tremendous amount of opportunity to meet, like you said, your fellow man. Hey, Earthling.
Hey, Earthling, man. Exactly.
Hey, Earthlings.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah,
so
and that was
it's
part of why this podcast even came about, was like when I went to Europe and backpacked for 4 months alone with really no plan. And
they had food there, right?
They had
Really?
food.
And they had places you could stay?
They had so many places.
And stores you could buy toothpaste.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
amazing.
but even if people didn't speak my language, they could help me out.
Yeah, he was like, I need to go to the bathroom. At this point,
Yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, we know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and then they laugh and they put you to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Other places actually have. That's my point. Sometimes I talk to, go ahead, Americans, and they're just like, really, you can buy food that you can, yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing of like, it's in a weird way that like Americans are very sheltered to America. Like I remember a few years ago I watched I think it was either a Japanese or Chinese news station.
I'm so glad you mentioned Japan. Go ahead.
Yeah. And they, in the first 10 minutes, it was in English, and in the first 10 minutes, he talked about 12, 15 other countries and what was going on in them. And I was like, what the? Like, we never hear about other countries over here. You have to do a specific type of news station in order to get that. And it's not the major broadcast networks. And in breaking the mold of America, of like I said, going to New Zealand and being like, oh, wow, like, there's so much to see, and there's so much to see in America as well. Like just in Colorado, like after traveling for a long time and coming back, I'm like, man, Colorado is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. There's so much variety and so much beauty, but everywhere has something to offer. Everywhere has a different experience to offer, and that's why I like that you call what you're doing adventure life coaching, because the call to adventure is something that I think is missing from our generation. I think about people who were 19 and went to, World War II or World War One, where it's
Vietnam,
like, or Vietnam,
Korea.
Yeah, it's like those, like,
Iraq.
Yeah, even that today, like seeing the old World War II veterans who still wear the hat, to this day, it's like, well, yeah, because you can't top that. But the thing is like, that's one very extreme version of adventure that exists on this planet.
Right.
And you can choose it if you want.
Right. Join up.
Yeah, but there are so many different ways that adventure can look. And like people, it's always interesting to me that people love stories like Lord of the Rings, where this little hobbit, Frodo goes through this unbelievable adventure, and they love it. They love to read about it, but they're afraid to, go to the store late at night.
Step into the story.
Exactly.
Be the story.
Exactly. And it's like, that's what I feel that adventure is owning, is that you get to be the character, the main character of your story.
Exactly. Couple things that come to my mind is, first and foremost, my first travels overseas was when I was in college, and I got chosen to be an American cowboy. Yes, at the Basin House. So flew over to Japan a couple summers and played American cowboy, teaching kids how to rope, and they thought a happy cowboy was a cowboy with who could drink. So they provided us all the booze we wanted at this cowboy house at the base of Mount Fuji. It's crazy. Seriously, it was crazy. And taught them how to rope. And wonderful people. Japanese are amazing people. But yeah, got off the plane and it's like, oh, I'm a little different than everybody here. Wow, there's a whole other world out there.
Yeah.
And all these people are just like me, though. They eat food and they have two legs, and so it's. I think you're very right with the sheltered part of our country. And in defense, in a sense, we do have a very big country with a lot going on, but definitely there could be more about other countries in our news and our in the news about what's going on in other countries and the good things going on in other countries, and always showing the bad things going on in other countries, which again adds fear to us traveling and going and seeing things. The other one, I just lost my thought. What the second one was that you made me think of? Bummer. But maybe it'll come back.
Might come back.
Yeah, whatever you were talking about after Japan, you were talking about how the adventure and.
Yeah, well, I went on to Lord of the Rings, and then being the main...
yeah. So that's what, some of the things I say is when people ask me, I go, well, I was in 2013, and I'd already been researching, like, how could I be location independent, and how could I understand this? And I'm, my computer skills are fair to partly cloudy, and so I'm like studying this, and how do I do that? And then one time I was cleaning my apartment, and I love, wild nature shows. I love sports too, but I put on National Geographic or something, and I was cleaning my apartment. And 2 hours later, my apartment wasn't as clean as it should be, and I was sitting there at the end of this show.
Yeah.
And to what you said, at that point was it was the breaking point. I was like, that's it. TV's gone. I'm either going to watch adventure, I'm either going to watch these things on TV, or I'm going to take my time and put steps forward and action steps of saving money, paying off debt, getting clear on what I want to do. That holds a lot of people back, the whole debt thing, because everybody's in debt, and you can work through it. You can work through it step by step. So maybe it delays your adventure a little bit longer. But I got rid of the TV, and so instead of watching for 2 hours, I spent 2 hours researching where I could go travel to see those animals or see those things or do those adventures.
Yeah.
And the TV sucks so much time from people. It can be a positive thing on some things, but typically it's not. And therefore, for me, I had to decide. I have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How am I going to utilize those? And if I want to be and create my own, be the character, be the adventurer, live these things that I say I want to do, because even with doing that, I'm not going to be able to do everything I want to do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's only so much time on the planet.
Yeah.
And so, I got rid of the TV in 2013, and those countless hours sitting there were devoted to focusing on getting rid of debt, focusing on saving money, focusing on, where do I want to go, learning about those places a little bit, and then therefore taking those steps. And that's what I'm hoping to help others to realize that they can do it and make it happen.
Yeah. I think it's like there's a woman that I was following when I was planning my trip to Europe, because I planned that all on my own and literally I bought a ticket and then figured it out from there.
Right. Yeah. And I do a lot of that. I mean, I buy a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
One-way ticket. People are like, what? Oh my God. Well, guess what? They have planes that fly back too.
Yeah, exactly.
You can only get on a plane.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah. And one of the things that this woman said that I really liked was like, every time she went to like go get a meal or something at a restaurant, she was like, oh, well, this could be a hostel stay in Portugal,
Oh, you're talking about saving money.
Exactly.
Oh, let's talk about that. Oh, yeah. Keep going, and then I'll jump in on that one. That one's huge.
Yeah. So like, she would literally, it's like counting her nickels and dimes. Every chance she got, she would just keep shuffling money into the travel account. And like just making those decisions in the moment to not have, to have
instant pleasure.
Yeah,
for longer-term pleasure.
Exactly. And like, so that's what I started doing for my trip, is just like when I worked, my paycheck went straight into the account for the trip. And it's crazy because my rent before I started traveling was $1,400 a month. And when I went to Europe and I spent 4 months over there, and including my round trip plane ticket and going to 10 different countries and spending 4 months over there, it cost me less than $4,000. So I I traveled through Europe for less that I would have paid for rent to stay in the same spot that I was at. And the amount of friends that I made, the amount of experiences that I had, the amount of confidence that I gained in myself to travel alone and to make and just getting to know myself. Of like, I actually got to make decisions about what I wanted to do for all of my days instead of just the grind,
Right.
you know, being stuck in the grind.
Right. Yeah. No, you're spot on, and I think it comes down to respecting the dollar, respecting a dollar. You know, and that's one thing I just want to throw in. That's why I call it boldly explore. You know, because you're boldly explore. You're and to get there, you have to make the decision that you're going to do that, and making that decision, of course, has finances involved with it, and respecting the dollar. And you hit it right on the head. Okay, so I'm going to go get a $5 latte, or actually, $5 could buy me a place to. I mean, I stayed in a hotel in Cambodia for $10, and we're not talking a hole in the wall. We're not talking 5-star.
Yeah.
You know, maybe like a 3-star.
Yeah.
It was $10. I've stayed places for $2. People are like, I would never do that. That, you know, must be a hole in the wall. Some of them have probably been.
Yeah.
But guess what? While you're working for your car payment,
Yeah.
I just traveled for 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's up to you. Your adventure doesn't have to be traveling for 3 months. Again, it's what's your adventure?
Yeah.
And we want to focus on that. But when it comes to actual traveling and long-term traveling, yes, it's cheaper to travel overseas, away from the United States, Australia, New Zealand, the Western countries. In Europe, you went to Europe. But there's parts of Europe that are inexpensive, but there's very expensive parts. Portugal, yeah.
Portugal is awesome.
Yeah, Portugal. But, you know, people say, where do you travel? I go, well, first of all, I've focused on the lesser expensive countries because I want to see them, so why not start there? I have backpacked through Europe, though.
Yeah.
At all the European countries. So it's being able to be, you know, a little bit uncomfortable as well. I think people want, I want to do that adventure, but I want to be air conditioned while I do it. You know, I mean, I was a personal trainer back in Dallas years ago for a short bit before I moved to Colorado, and I had a lady literally said, well, now I don't want to sweat. And you're just like, and so that's, you know, if you want to do an adventure, if you want to get inspired in life, if you want to feel spark, you have to get uncomfortable. If you continue to go down the path of the Western, what can I do each day to be more comfortable? Bigger couch, bigger house, bigger TV, comfier car, heated seats. If that's what inspires you, if that's what you feel like you're, and for me, you know, it's not. When I'm in the nursing home and I'm going wacko, you know, or whatever, or I'm laying on my deathbed, I'm going to, trust me, look back and say, wow, I backpacked through Peru. That was amazing. Oh, man, I wish I'd had that BMW with heated seats. I mean, that's just me. That's everybody's different.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to point out that, you know, valuing that dollar, and like you said, back to that, I mean, you can go... if you start really respecting the dollar and start putting those away and realizing you can spend $20 and travel a day in a foreign country, then where in the United States you're averaging 10 times that much a day, it's eye-opening. But most people, they're reading, they're going to Barnes & Noble and seeing the fancy magazines that say 50 greatest places to visit in the world and stay here at this place, and those are cool places. There's a lot of cool places that aren't advertised like that. It's all good.
And
That's
I
in reference to traveling, you know?
And I think that's more of like what you're calling into is like inviting people into owning their adventure of like. And that's where I know that you and I like to go, you know, like it's for us, an adventure is like a very intimate, deep experience.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that, but that's something that's so powerful. And I feel like the people that really want to do that, that are stuck in the 9 to 5 in the grind, like those are the ones who want that spark in a way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people, again, it's amazing to find out that I could it was crazy to find out that I could travel for cheaper than I could just staying put.
Yeah.
And you know, things, there's so many like ways that you can do it, of like woofing, working on organic farms,
Right.
and like and homesteading. Like there's so many different options for working at hostels overseas. Like there's all these opportunities for ways to make it happen, and it's a lot of things that people, it's not common knowledge. And I think that's what's great about what you're doing, of giving people the opportunity to pull from your resources of experience in order to take that first step into living out loud, as what I like to call
living
it.
out loud. Yeah. And not everybody, you know, that I could see working with is going to be that type of person either. There's some people that have tons of money, have worked hard for it, deserve to have it.
Yeah.
Yet, you know, I was coached by, he's actually has a coaching firm here in Denver for businesses, very successful, a couple great books. And he coached top 20 CEOs, not top 500, top 20 CEOs. And then I was coaching with him. Chuck Blakeman. I'm going to give Chuck a little shout out. Chuck Blakeman, because he was the one back into early 2000, you know, 10s or whatever, that when I rode a bike across the United States, I was like, he was like, yeah. And he was all into it with me. He goes, Scott, you know, every one of those guys wish they'd have spent less time climbing the ladder, more time with their family, or doing things that they wanted to do. So I've got, you know, I feel I want to reach those guys, reach those people, those ladies, those as well, is that, hey, you've put all of this work and you're just keeping grinding. Take a break for a short bit of time, or is it time to change? Or maybe you don't want to change anything. You just want to take that 2 weeks and go do some crazy adventure. You've always gone and laid on the beach, you know, and drank margaritas, and you're like, you know what? Heck with that. I want to spend 2 weeks backpacking through Peru or something.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? Okay, so those are people as well.
Yeah.
Or there's the long-term travel like you're talking about, which I've done, but I've done the short and long. I want to inspire those people and get them out there.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've definitely said to friends, of that on my deathbed, I know that I won't be laying there gasping for air saying, man, I wish I just put more hours into the factory.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
if I could do it over again.
Right.
And it's like getting out and actually experiencing this beautiful world and this beautiful life that we are gifted with. And I think that these types of adventures remind us how much of a gift this life is, because when you're stuck in the grind, you can lose sight of that very quickly. It's the idea of people who, after I traveled, I came back and was working construction, and I was in such a good mood because I'd just been all over.
Yeah, right.
And this guy comes in that I don't know. I'm like, hey man, how's it going? And I'm cheering. And he goes, living the dream. And I looked at him and I was like, I used to do that. I used to say that as sarcastically as you just did.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like I don't want to be stuck in this. Like I like being able to actually experience life, to go and explore yourself, your mind, in new energy, in new areas. Like, it makes you look at yourself and the world differently. And I think that that's unparalleled in how much it can affect not only your own life, but how you then show up in the world. And the importance of that, I think, is unmatched. Like, you have to go.
Yeah, right. And I think when doing that and these potential, adventures, and I guess it's not potential adventures, the actual adventure, whatever level that is for someone, there's a lot of people out there that want to change careers, want to change jobs. There's a very high unsatisfactory level. This could be a conduit to a whole new career. I mean, there's all great career opportunities in travel. There's great career opportunities in adventure, the world. There's great opportunities in other places. And I think sometimes getting out there and away from your everyday, whatever you're doing, and breaking free from that, and not just breaking free from it and going down and laying on the beach. Trust me, I love the beach. I'm a scuba diver. I just got back from 4 months in the Philippines and Indonesia, scuba diving in crazy little places and staying in crazy little places, and 4-day boat ride from one big island to another, and swimming every day. And you're like, that sounds amazing. Yeah, it was $250 for a 4-day trip, or was it even 200? I don't know. Yeah, it was a 1-star boat, but there were like 15 other people there were like 10 people from China. There were people from Australia. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Those things are out there.
Yeah.
Now, some people are like, well, no, I want a yacht with 5. Well, great. That's your choice.
Yeah.
The point is getting you out of your everyday and get a little uncomfortable and breathing and getting a lot of that off your mind and out of your mind, so you can open up your mind instead of just going, I want to change careers, going to a career counselor, staying in what you're doing every day and that whole scene, and then switching to something else that really isn't what you really should switch to.
Yeah.
Get away for a bit, breathe fresh air, do something completely different, something you've dreamed of doing anyway, and do that. And while you're doing that, it gives your brain and your body a chance to let it out, breathe, do some meditation. And, I did some of that. I did a week in a Buddhist monastery, 6 hours a day in Northwest Thailand. And it was just like, whoa, every day, man. 6 hours. About the third day, you're like, really? Are we really going to sit around for another 6 hours? We did some walking and some laying, but it was phenomenal. I mean, it was amazing. And I'd love to go back tomorrow. But it gave me a chance to reflect and then make decisions with a much clearer mindset of moving forward in life, versus trying to make those decisions still in the battle every day. It's hard to do that.
Yeah.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hope that made sense.
Yeah, because it's the idea of pattern disruption.
Pattern disruption. Nice. Look at you. Hey, Earthlings. Pattern disruption.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a T-shirt? Everybody wants a T-shirt.
Everybody wants a T-shirt. Yeah. Boldly Explore.
Yeah.
BoldlyExplore.com.
That's right.
Yeah, when you're stuck in it, like you're saying, like there's no vantage point to take another perspective on it, like getting another perspective on your own experience is so valuable to choosing a more worthwhile path for yourself, where exactly what you're saying, getting out of the bubble, getting out of the grind, completely doing something different, it makes your mind activate in a different way. You can explain it in 1,000 different ways of like, it creates new links in your brain
that's
like
correct. Yep.
you're exploring things differently. And for me, when I was traveling, I found it so wild that I would take, an overnight train where I bought the cheap seat.
Yeah.
And you're cramped like this for 12 hours.
Right.
And I'd show up and I'd be like, oh my God, all I want to do is get to my hostel and go to bed. But as I'm walking to the hostel, I'm seeing new buildings and new people. And I'm like, oh man, this city's pretty cool. And I'd go to the hostel, I'd check in, I'd put my bag in the locker, and I'd go out and I'd be out all day. And I'd have energy.
Yep.
Because I'm in new energy. I've never experienced this before.
New energy. That's a good one. Yeah, new energy. You're in a whole new energy force and field when you're experiencing that adventure that you've dreamed of doing. And you're right. It's going to open up new neurons, going to crack open old ones and connect new ones, and it's going to make a huge difference for your for your moving forward. Even if you end up deciding on that experience of going back and doing exactly what you've been doing before, yet maybe you're going to be a little more enlightened and look at it a little differently, or maybe it opens up that you appreciate what you're doing. I don't want to go too much further without actually saying, though, that, you know, part of my site and a good part of my site and a good part of my inspiration of doing things is about conservation and these adventures, potentially some of them being where we're bringing awareness about conservation issues or wildlife. And it's not all of them, doesn't have to be. But it's something that's part of my site, it's part of some of my being. And when I do tour guiding, have done tour guiding, I bring it up and talk about it, because people will come, oh, I want to go see this beautiful mountains, I want to see these beautiful wildlife, and then they want to go back to their high rise. Well, honestly, you're disconnected, because you can't keep seeing it unless you're getting involved to help keep it around.
Yeah.
So I want to connect people that way too with what I'm doing. That's why my logo has a earth with a green sprout coming out of the O, and
Nice.
Explore has the compass. You know, it's a combination. It doesn't have to be always. I mean, when I rode across a bicycle across the United States, I was raising awareness about obesity, and that's a bad, terrible issue in our country. So just something, maybe, you know, maybe I should say it's, for me, it's conservation and wildlife and nature. Who I work with, it doesn't have to be, but I think also connecting what their adventure they do potentially with a cause of some sort, or so that they have like a, you know, something beyond just themselves.
Yeah.
If they want to keep it themselves, no worries, no problems.
Yeah.
You know, but if there's, you know, that's also something I think is a great opportunity to get their friends and family following them and get them inspired about something they're inspired about. Maybe that's whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah, because your background, you went to school for chiropractic.
Well, my undergraduate's in animal science.
Really?
Foods. Yes, foods and food industry. And so I'm very familiar. I worked in the food industry, so I'm very familiar with that machine.
Yeah. So that'd be like
That
factory
machine that we have.
farming.
Farming, ranching, cattle ranching. Showed cattle. Worked on the ranch. My aunt and uncle in western Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Had a big feedlot with cattle, so, you know, we can talk about all the good and bad and evil of that. 'Cause I've been on both sides. I have all that education. I went to natural health. Yes, I completely switched over to natural health and became a doctor of chiropractic. Created 3 different practices here, one in the UK, and enjoyed it. But it was time to get out of the box and see the world. Can't do that going to the box every day, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And was able to break free of that. That's another thing I can offer to people, is the understanding of the steps I took and how to make that transition. And it can happen no matter how far you're down. I was in huge doctor school debt, you know, but step by step, value the dollar, keep making those steps. And so, yeah.
And how old were you when you made the shift?
The shift to
away from your practice and starting
I did I did a couple. Says I was, I was probably early 30s when I sold practice and started doing some investing in real estate and all that stuff. And all that crumbled because of the. So that was another reason that was like, okay.
That was the crash in 2008, 2009.
9, 10, 11, right in there. Yeah, all that. It kind of went on for a while. For a lot of people. So I cleaned up. You know, that was a life traumatic. It was brutal, but an eye-opening experience. And I'd done a little bit of traveling before that, but that really inspired me. So then I built another practice from scratch and. Sold that, and then used some of that money to travel a bit, and then started transitioning. And so it's mid 30s.
Yeah.
When I decided I'm not going to be in this box for the next 20 years. As much as I like helping people, as much as I believe and strongly believe in the principles of the practice, it wasn't so that I know there are other people out there just like that. They may. It's not that they don't passionate about some of the things they do, but the way it has to be presented, it's not it doesn't match.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, look at the numbers of people that are not happy with their careers or work.
Yeah,
It's
huge.
pretty obvious. Huge, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem with my education. I'm so glad I have what I have. It's who I am.
Yeah.
That's why health and wellness is part of what I would do with people as well. And they say the mental aspect, the physical aspect. I mean, I consulted and counseled people for a long time on all that, and that's an important part of being able to get to those and be able to do some of the adventures that some people want to do. They think they can't do it because they've got to get to a certain place with their health, and some people will need to and will work on that.
Yeah.
Some people don't need to do as much as they think they need to do to be able to do some of the things that they might want to do.
Yeah.
I have that knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like having the fact that you are so well versed in a lot of different areas. It's awesome because you can help create a blueprint for so many different people at so many different starting points of where they're at, of like just it doesn't matter where the person is at in their life. Like there is a starting point.
Right.
There are steps that you can take right
Yes.
now to begin your adventure and
Yes.
to get to where you want to be in that adventure.
Visioning,
Yeah.
vision board.
Yeah.
In my little apartment that I was living in, it was way small for what my income was, and people were like, "What are you doing?" Value the dollar. I was doing what you were doing. I was throwing every dollar I could towards debt, towards student debt, student loan. I didn't need a $2,000 a month. We're saying these figures, and somebody's gonna listen to this 10 years from now and be like, $2,000, that's nothing. But anyway, I was $700 a month in a little 1-bedroom apartment when I could afford much more. But all that extra money, boom, every month, boom, knock it down. And at the same time, talking about vision, above my bed, I plastered photos of wild animals and places and mountains and everything. So every day I woke up and every day before I went to bed, I was looking at it.
Nice.
So I think vision boards are huge. I think visioning is huge. The mind is you're going to do what your mind is thinking it's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Now I can't be a middle linebacker for a pro football team right now, and my mind tells me I can, but that's not real. But I hope everybody took that as a joke, but it's true. I mean, but by far the mind has to be. We have to address the mental aspect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the fact that we're doing this. All of the things that we're using to create this podcast were once ideas. Microphones, cameras, laptops, the internet. It was all an ethereal thought that we brought into the physical reality.
Ethereal. You for a construction guy, you sure have a deep, wide assortment of big words.
Yeah. Yeah, like bringing exactly what you're saying though is that element of it of vision, having an idea that you can bring into the physical reality, that you can create. Like it's so possible, and it's something that so many people I feel have the urge for, because I think everybody's heart, I think in the spark in every soul on this planet is that they're the star. You're the star of your own story. And adventure to me is owning that fact.
Hey, Earthlings, star of your own story. Second T-shirt of this podcast. I'm just, making notes.
That's why you're the businessman. Yeah, but I think that it's so important to own that in yourself, because like I've said, it bleeds into all other aspects of your life. When you take it upon yourself to embrace the discomfort, to do something different, to go out of your comfort zone, strip off what you know and jump into the wild, then suddenly you get to be a hero and you get to own the fact that this is your life. And if you are just grinding for someone else, you are you are literally giving your life force away to these people. Like when I was younger, I didn't go to college. When I was 19, I worked third shift in a factory in Iowa. And I think that everyone should have to do that when they're 19 so that they work with Clark, the guy who's 45 with, 3 failed marriages and kids and all these debt and payments. Right. And, I've been here for 30 years, and it's like, I don't want to be Clark, man. Right. I love you, Clark, but I don't want to be you. Right. Like, I want to do something different. Like, owning your experience is the most worthwhile way that you can spend your life energy. And like when I was doing those jobs and grinding away, that job, I gave them 2 months notice that I wanted to leave for a week to fly down to South Carolina and take drum lessons from one of my favorite drummers at the time. And 2 days before I left, they were like, hey, we couldn't give you the time off. Sorry.
Oh my. Yeah.
And I was like
they're owning your life.
Yeah. I'm like, I've been working overtime for you. I've been showing up. I've done everything I can for you. And it made me realize that these companies don't care about you.
There are some that do. But there are a lot that don't. And the point of it is, if they care or if they don't, doesn't matter. You're still doing what you're saying, is you're giving away your power and your energy and yourself.
Exactly. And yeah, exactly. It's not that they don't care, but the thing is that if you're part of the machine, then they just need you as a gear. And if that gear breaks, they replace it. You're replaceable, especially as a laborer, jobs like that. And that's where I come from, is more blue collar, where I'm replaceable. I'm just muscle.
Well, and I think I want to step in here for a moment and say, you don't have to have this is cliche in a sense. You don't have to have a college degree to be successful. You don't.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people out there that don't. And you have to talk about mindset and mental. You need to still break through that.
Yeah.
Because I have a strong feeling you still see yourself as a blue collar. Yeah. It's in there. It's ingrained. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not speaking just to you. I'm speaking to others. Mm-hmm. And then there's those that have doctorates like myself that it gives me an advantage. I have a lot more hit in my pocket at George Strait. I got an ace in the hole.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can always go back to practice. I can always, as long as I'm physically capable, I've got a lot of knowledge that I can use but I just want to encourage those that didn't get some degree, and you can always go back and still get it. I mean, you can always still go to school no matter how. I mean, there was a lady that graduated from college in Oklahoma. She was 88 years old. I mean, you can always do it. And if you're not doing it, I'm just trying to be inspirational in the sense that you don't have to have something already to end up getting it. And it's the same thing with the adventures. You don't have to have the ability to climb a 14,000-foot mountain at the moment. You can get there. You don't have to have the ability to run a surgical office like you are in this position. But if you truly, at your age, you could truly still go back to medical school and you could do all that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying is that if you start having limiting beliefs and thoughts, you work to break through that. And so I think that's a lot that we need to work on with people, is the limiting beliefs, and that they're limited from what's happened to them in the past or the decisions that they've made. Tomorrow's a brand new day. You start scratch from tomorrow.
Yeah.
In a sense. Yeah. So that's I think it's important for people to understand, and how that has, held people back is just, it's huge.
Yeah.
The mind, because we tell ourselves negative stuff all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I have to work on it myself every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day as well.
Yeah.
And those that are able to work on it and break through it are the ones that you end up, a lot of people watch on TV that are all doing all this stuff. Yeah. And they have negative thoughts still as well.
Yeah.
You don't think the guy going to be pitching for the World Series tomorrow night isn't like as positive, and, he's still in the back of his mind. He's got the little chirpers, going on.
Yeah.
He's gotten a better control of those chirps.
Yeah, and it's turning those chirps into your friend instead of your enemy. Where it's like, because I definitely have, the just crap talkers in my head, that
Yeah.
are just like tell me I'm the worst person on the planet.
Gotcha.
But the thing is as I've grown, I've realized that I need those voices because that's the motivation. That's the voice that's like, it's pushing me to be better.
So you're like, hey, buddy, thanks for telling me I'm shitty today. Because you know what? Now I'm going to work hard not to be shitty.
Exactly.
Just to make you mad.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a run. Like,
Right.
It's like, you need those voices because if you can become friends with them, if you can use them as allies, those are the ones that point out where you're lacking. They'll eat you up if you give them too much of the microphone. But if you use them as an ally and say, okay, where am I missing? Where am I missing the point? Where am I missing the mark? Where could I be doing more? And then that voice is like, well, you're not doing good here. And you go, all right, well then vision board, it's on there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to achieve this.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely use it that way. And that's where I think, meditation is a huge, huge tool.
Nice.
I mean, that's what it is. It's a tool. It's a tool to like my sensei, head monk, teacher monk, excuse me, at the Buddhist monastery I was at. He's like, he said something. You work out, strengthen your muscles. Meditation is strengthening your mind. And I was like, oh, that makes, for me, that was like, that's what I needed to hear. So I'm strengthening my mind, because he's like, there's two minds, because who else is talking to the other mind? When you're talking to yourself, one mind's talking to the other mind. And basically when you're meditating and one starts saying, bad stuff, you're like, you go, hey, thanks for that information. Cool. I'm going to go back to kind of working on my meditation here. But it's strengthening, to the point, it's strengthening your mind. And I thought that was like strengthening your mind muscle. So I think that's something that people, it's best to take a chance and look at a little bit. And everybody says, I'm trying to meditate, but it's not working. No, you are meditating. There's no trying. You are. It's just yours isn't as good as someone else's, or you're not to where yours is where you'd like it to be. But if you're sitting there and you're doing the meditation, you're meditating.
Yeah.
You're not trying, you're doing it. You just get to work to keep improving it.
Yeah, and that's also something where, like, meditation for me is more of the moving meditation. Like, I realized I meditate all the time when I play the drums. When, flow state, which I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yeah. Well,
it's like when you are able to get into a state where you're present. Like, that's what I feel that meditation gives you. It's like, be present to the now. And
I would though, Jordan, I would say, I agree with you on the drums and fully. I still think there's a need for quiet time.
Yeah. I can appreciate
I still feel
that.
like there's a need to, if it's 10 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, if it's 15 minutes, just not try,
Yeah,
but
do. Yeah.
Quiet the mind and let it rest.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that fully from, I spent 6 months off grid in a camper with no electricity, no running water, just out.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember coming over and checking out the little thing. That was such a cool little trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, and being able to, one of the things I pushed myself there, because when I was out there, I was consulting with a friend who was dealing with alcoholism.
Oh.
And after talking on the phone with him one day, I had to walk 30 minutes from my camper to get cell service. And I was walking, I had 30 minutes to just walk through the woods back to the camper after talking to him. And I was like, man, I'm so glad that I don't deal with addiction And this little voice in my head was like, well, are you so sure about that? And I was like, okay, well, what are things I'm addicted to? And I realized when I wake up in the morning, I turn on music. When I'm in my car, I have music or a podcast going, and I have audio going all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to break this habit. And for a month straight, I did no electronics, no music, no nothing. And I got silent, just like you're saying.
Nice.
And I did find the magic in that. Where like then it was so wild because after my month, I drove into town to get supplies. And I got in my car and I turned on the radio and the music sounded so good, you know, because
You were actually listening to it.
yeah, I was like, man, like it, I got to feel it again just because I took that break. And I think that exactly what you're saying, quieting the mind, like quieting the mind quiets your energy, your energetic field. It allows everything to just soften back into yourself so that it's not this, you know, constantly go, go, go. And just like you're saying, 10 to 15 minutes. It's what I tell people with working out when, you know, friends are like, man, I wish I was in shape like you are. I'm like, well, do 10 push-ups today. And they're like, well, what's that going to do? It's 10 more push-ups than you did yesterday.
What do you mean with that? Yeah, no, I guess, yeah, it's building on top of building on top of.
Yeah.
And consistency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I love doing, it's just a little, like, if you do something for yourself today that takes a step forward, like do a little something every day.
Yeah.
Just a little something that is a benefit for you instead of a detractor, you know, like,
And, yeah. Like, go ahead. Sorry, like.
and just keep building on it. Like everything that you do, if you can do 5 push-ups on Tuesday and then 6 push-ups on Wednesday and then 7 push-ups on Thursday and then 6 push-ups on Friday,
Right.
you know, like you just keep like building momentum, exactly what you're saying, which is, I think, also what you're doing with your company. You're helping people to find their starting line and
Yep.
build momentum.
To make a change in their life, to experience something that they've always dreamed of doing in their life, and then from that, hopefully opening up their mind to other possibilities and more than just the adventure itself. I could have people that just want to do the adventure and that's it.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem. I think though that even those people I would bet or hope would actually experience more than they thought that they were going to experience. They just think, I want to do this adventure. I want to go, you know, experience it. It's all good. And then they're like halfway through it, like, wow, this is way more than, in a great way, in a good way, life-changing for me than I ever thought it could be, as much as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I think there's definitely, exactly. So.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Scott. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks, man.
You know, the adventures that you've taken upon yourself, you know,
And to come,
and
looking
to
at Africa here in a couple months. And
yeah.
I'm trying to, like, do I ride a bike? Do I backpack? Would I get eaten by a cheetah? How much can I walk? I'm trying to work on that. And definitely with a conservation awareness and be involved with some different, like I was just in Indonesia. I was with some researchers on orangutans and working with them and checking out orangutans, and would love to help them a bit more as things move forward. But definitely in Africa, I'm not just going to go over there and stay in some 5-star. I want to get out there amongst the locals and the people and smell the dirt and feel the air. And, you know, how best can I do that in an adventurous type but, you know, just going to Africa for some people is like, that's a manager adventure. Well,
Yeah.
let's up it a little bit more, though, if we can. But, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love that you bring the conservation into it. I think that's so important. Every hike I go on, if I see trash, I pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, like it's taking those steps to just
Butterfly.
leave. Yeah, leave it better than when you showed up.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So again, I appreciate like what you're doing, what you've been doing, the ways that you've inspired me in my life, and that you're taking ownership of inspiring people to get out and live their best lives, however it looks.
Yes.
I think that's one of the most important things that we can do on this planet, especially when you tie it in with actual conservation efforts and, steps to better the world everywhere you go.
Yeah, which what and how that from that person what they feel they want to do. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, it's Boldly Explore, BOLDLYEXPLL. Excuse me. Wow, I just lost my voice. So hopefully you edit that out.
Nope.
Nope. Jeez. I needed some water. Where's my water? BoldlyExplore.com. BOLDLYEXPLORE.com. And I really appreciate checking it out, reading around, sending me a note, ask me questions. I'm offering a 20-minute free call consultation. Just chat it up, help you any way I can.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Scott, thank you so much
bet.
for being
Thank
on,
you,
man.
man.
Appreciate who you are as a person, brother.
Yeah, cheers. Do we say bye, Earthlings? Because you say, hey, Earthlings. Didn't you say bye, Earthlings at the end?
Yeah, we could say bye, Earthlings.
Well, I'm just saying, how you doing this? Bye, Earthlings.
Bye, Earthlings.
Bye, Earthlings.